Ladies and gentlemen, it's another episode of the Thursday Thick of It. We're going to have a good time tonight, man. We're going to go ahead and talk about our New York Jets stomping on the New England Patriots this past week. We're going to go ahead and watch a little bit of Giants versus Cowboys football. Tonight, you're going to have to deal with me and my co-host Dom tonight. We got freaking GreenBean on the way to the game, so he's on the road. We're going to be holding it down for the Thursday Thick of It. We've got a special guest coming on tonight as well, giving us the perspective of how Broncos country is feeling about the game this coming Sunday. We got a pretty good show lineup for you guys. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and talk Jets football.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, man.
I want to kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah!
You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets.
All right, so here we go. It's almost time for freaking kickoff. You know that tonight's episode of Thursday Think of It is brought to you by BetUS. Listen, right now you can get some incredible odds against Aaron Rodgers winning the MVP, Aaron Rodgers getting comeback player of the year, New York Jets making it to the Super Bowl, New York Jets winning the AFC East. So many opportunities for you to go ahead and cash on the New York Jets dominating the season, as well as entertaining you on Sundays, Mondays, and of course on Thursday night. So thank you to BetUS for sponsoring the Thursday Think of It tonight. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my co-host for the evening, my guy, freaking Dom C. How you doing, Dom C? How you feeling today, baby?
Gunny, I'm good, brother. I'm good. Thursday night, nowhere better than I'd like to be with you here and with the guys in the chat. Football on the other screen. Still riding high off of last Thursday's victory, man. All is well in the world, brother. All is well in the world, man. I'm feeling good.
I couldn't agree more, man. I think you said it beautifully, right? The riding high component of what we saw the New York Jets do to the New England Patriots on Thursday Night Football. I got to tell you, man, I don't think I've ever had a weekend of football that was more enjoyable. I got to watch football on Sunday, and I had no stressors, no worries, no concerns about how my team was going to perform because they had already handled business on Thursday night. So it was just pretty much me watching football, watching the Miami Dolphins get embarrassed. It was a really, really good day, man. A really, really good day of football for us Jets fans. Now, granted, I was hoping the freaking Buffalo Bills were going to go ahead, catch an L on Monday night. Obviously, that didn't happen. Josh Allen is looking really, really good. But what's your takes on the New York Jets, man? What we saw on Thursday night is something that I don't think the majority of us have seen in quite some time, if ever.
You're talking about competent offense and the New York Jets and that
grown-up quarterback play. Grown-up quarterback play.
Yeah, I think that, listen, the NFL is a week-by-week league, right? Like anything can happen on any given Sunday. They're NFL teams for a reason. I think that they're all very good, and anyone can come in and have the right game plan and make plays when they need to here and there. So I don't disparage or look past any NFL game, especially the Jets, who have shown, especially in recent years, a propensity of not winning the games that they should have. Right. So we came into Tennessee and I'm in the minority because I think that we played a better game than the score laid out. It's a couple plays away, literally a couple plays away from being, the pendulum swinging very high towards the Jets. Garrett Wilson was missed in a wide open half of the field when Aaron dumped it off, I think, to Tyler Conklin or somebody out of the backfield. Maybe it was Breece Hall. And then you had that crazy catch, you tip your cap by Calvin Ridley, that if you ran that same play 1,000 times, 999 times, it goes incomplete. So right then and there is a 14-point swing. So I'm content with where we were at going into New England. I'm happy that we came out and we stepped on their throats and we won in all three phases. Offense looked phenomenal, like you talked about, adult quarterback play, competent, grinding out, getting third down, so on and so forth. Aaron spreading the ball out, not forcing anything. The running backs looked legit. Defense, we came out and we kind of quelled the voices that have been saying Jets can't stop the run, Jets can't stop the run, Ramondre is going to run down our throats, and that didn't happen. We pressured Jacoby Brissett all over the place. Then we pressured Drake May all over the place, and special teams would come out and block a punt. Ends up being a big play here. So, take it for what it is. Like I said, on paper, we're the better team than New England. But I take it as a huge dub because we came out and did exactly what we were supposed to do. And that's the way I look at. That's the way I look at this team right here. If we do that, if we keep stacking days with where we look prepared, where our coaching staff looks prepared, where we play intense, where we're not turning the ball over, where we're taking the ball away, I think good things are ahead, man, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think you broke it down beautifully, right? In terms of what the Jets handled business the way they were supposed to handle business.
Mm-hmm.
Before I give my take on it, man, shout out to everybody in the chat hanging out with us tonight. I see Alan, Jay-Z, Jetfan, Harry, Eric, Ant Jets 82, Aurora, RB Gamer. Yeah, appreciate you guys. Jesse P, Tony Alexo. Man, you guys are real ones. James Thompson, Alan is in the chat as well. Paula. Michael, hey, Miguel, welcome, guys. Tonight's going to be a fun time. We're going to watch a little bit of the Giants versus Cowboys. I think the majority of us kind of have an idea of where this is going to go. I mean, it's going to be the battle of the mids, but it's football. We get to watch football on Thursday night, talk about the New York Jets and how well they looked. But kind of like, caveating to what you were saying, I think the most impressive aspect of what we saw on Thursday, it was Aaron Rodgers eliminating any doubt of what he's truly capable of right now on the field, right? We saw him move around, which I think surprised me, surprised you. We were in our group chat talking about it like, yo, Aaron Rodgers is really moving around like vintage Aaron Rodgers. And I think what I appreciate the most about it is everything that we saw, everything that we got excited about on Thursday, I don't even think that was the full product. I don't think we've witnessed the New York Jets offense or defensive full product yet being displayed. I think we got to see Aaron Rodgers literally at about 80% on Thursday. I don't believe that was him at 100%. You see, there's a little bit of I'm not gonna say a disconnect, but I guess it is a disconnect between him and Garrett Wilson. Went back and I watched the tape last night on the show with Mike the Stat Guy. Shout out to Mike for helping me out with breaking down the tape. And you saw opportunities where Garrett Wilson was literally getting open at will. Now, I think Christian Gonzalez is a top 10, debatable top 5 cornerback in this league. And a lot of people were saying like, oh, you look at the stat sheet. Oh, Garrett Wilson wasn't getting any yards. He got locked down. But then you go back and you watch the tape, and Garrett Wilson was getting open, it seemed like, at will. I really believe had Aaron Rodgers fired the ball when Garrett was getting open, because a couple of times the tape showed Rodgers looking his way, I think freaking Garrett Wilson could have had a 100-yard plus type of night, 2 touchdowns. There were a lot of opportunities where I feel like Aaron Rodgers looked his way and then took the safer approach and the safer route. And then a couple of times he went his way, they seem to just be off. What do you think the issue is right now between Rodgers and Garrett Wilson? I mean, again, I think this duo could literally be a top tandem in the NFL. We haven't really seen it thus far in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But what do you think the holdup is with Aaron Rodgers when it comes to getting the ball to Garrett Wilson?
I don't know if there's a holdup. I some of it might just be communication and stuff like that. I think that hang on, I'm sorry. I think that the Jets. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, has expectations, and he does a lot of editing and changing of stuff at the line of scrimmage, and that's the stuff where it just needs repetition, right? Aaron throws it 8 yards to the sideline, and Garrett, instead of breaking out, breaks in, or Aaron's expecting him to take it, take a post skinny, and he takes it a little too wide, and it's behind him. It's that kind of stuff that I think is gonna, with time, that's gonna happen. Listen, truth be told, Garrett Wilson has faced Tre'Davious Ward, the Darius Sneed, and Christian Gonzalez in his first 3. Those are 3 good cornerbacks. The first 2 games, even a little bit last game, but not as much as the first 2 games, they had safety help over the top, with that high-low bracket. And Aaron Rodgers is just doing, as we talked about when we first came on the show, adult quarterback play, right? He's not trying to force anything. He's not going to force feed. He's going to take what you give him. Sometimes it's to the detriment, right? We talked about Garrett Wilson being, wide ass open with no one within 25 yards of him in the Tennessee game. And Aaron dumped it off and took the easy 6 yards. So I think the time is coming. I'm not necessarily concerned about that there being some sort of disconnect between the two. I just think that, Aaron's, not going to force anything that's not there. And listen, Garrett Wilson doesn't get any easier this week with PS2. Probably I'm assuming going to shadow Garrett the whole time.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think PS2 is definitely going to follow him. Another guy who I think is one of the top cornerbacks in football. In fact, I think he's in that 1 to 2 range in terms of like Cam, Sauce Gardner. I think that he's in that conversation. Patrick Surtain has been a beast in the league. And I think one of the things we got to admire about a guy like that is, like you said, he does follow the number one wide receiver, right? Yeah. He'll follow him all over the field to include in the slot. So that's something that you look at when you look at Patrick Surtain, and you got to give the man the credit, give him the respect earned. One of the best in the game in what he does. So I think, but with that being said, right, I know a lot of individuals are, especially if you're a fantasy football owner of Garrett Wilson, you're freaking out. You know what I'm saying? You're why is he not getting these connections? Why is he not getting the ball thrown his way? But what does it say about Aaron Rodgers and what these other guys have done in stepping up? Your Allen Lazard, your Tyler Conklin, Mike Williams, who's just starting to go ahead and pick up, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, both catching the ball out of the backfield. Even Ruckert, we're seeing sightings of Ruckert now starting to go ahead and catch some balls. Like, he distributed the ball, if I'm not mistaken, to 9 different wide receivers.
9 different receivers
on Thursday night. That is insane when you think about it, right? Like, and again, it's the Aaron Rodgers effect. And a lot of people I know in the beginning in the draft, we're freaking out. We need another weapon outside of freaking Garrett Wilson. Go Bowers, go another wide receiver. In hindsight, it's obviously paying off now that we did go Olu Fashanu already. He's coming in to go ahead and get some meaningful snaps. But ultimately, we've seen Aaron Rodgers unlock other players on this roster that I don't know if people are really looking at to be huge benefactors of helping us, but they are. Lazard right now is tied for the league in touchdown receptions.
Yeah.
Just like we all anticipated he would be, right? Like, it's been crazy. And yeah, we get it, man. It's Aaron Rodgers, but how are these guys elevating their games to match the Aaron Rodgers level? Or is it just that he's been doing this? They've been there. They're that good. We just didn't have the quarterbacks to take advantage of their skill sets. Yeah,
I think it's a combination of both. I think playing with Aaron opens up a defense a lot. You don't have, you're not facing heavy boxes. You have a quarterback that's going to, that if given the opportunity, is going to push the ball. I think, he's a very cerebral player, and he wants his receivers to be at. So the Lazards and the Conklins and Mike Williams of the world, got to up their game mentally and be a little bit more laser focused when they're on the field with Aaron. I think all that contributes, man. We talked about Lazard and you talked about Conklin. I knew that last week was going to be a real good game for Conklin, just based on, schematically what New England likes to do with the too high safety. Opens up the middle of the field a lot for those Conklin plays. And I mean, what is he, 6 for 90 or something like that? 5 for 93, something along those lines. I mean, he had a great game. We haven't talked about Mike Williams. He's still ramping up, still coming back from that knee injury, and that's going to be huge. Like, people aren't talking about the effect that Mike Williams can have as a true number 2 wide receiver on this team. We've been talking about Lazard because he's getting a lot of the action right now. I think a lot of those snaps eventually will be going to Mike Williams, and if he keeps producing, I think you have enough weapons, because you got 2 dogs in the backfield. And say what we want, this is going to be a game. This is going to be a team that still wants to win by running the ball down your throat, which we've done successfully. 170 yards combined between Braylon Allen and Breece Hall. Two different, very polarizing. Two stylistically, they're completely different, but both very effective, man. Both very effective, and it gives us a little bit of flexibility. We don't have to stay in a true power set run game all the time. You can still throw on some of the zone stuff, the outside zone stuff with Breece Hall. Let him plant and go and use his vision and his nimbleness. And when you need to get at it. You can still run Braylon Allen right behind John Simpson and with Ruckert lead blocking and just let him, run through some guys. I mean, it's a very, once everything's firing all cylinders, which we started to see last week, we're not there yet, but once that starts happening, watch out, man. It's going to be a really, really good offense. A very, very good offense.
Yeah, we're giving a lot of praise to the offense, a ton of praise to the offense, but I think we're forgetting that the defense actually had a game as well. They got after Jacoby Brissett, they got after Will Levis in back-to-back games. We're starting to see the defense we were hoping we were going to see. I know that first game with the 49ers, those guys spent a lot of time on the field. The offense, in my opinion, people will call me crazy. I think the offense against the 49ers played well. I think when they had the ball in their hands, they were able to go ahead and move the ball. I think there was like a 1 point per minute of possession ratio that was called out there, but they were on the sideline watching the game. The defense was, I think, the weak link in that week 1 game against the 49ers.
Yeah.
I think as this defense has progressed already, we're starting to see them get back to form, and I don't think they're even at full strength yet. They're still working their way back to form. But I got to say this. One thing I don't think any of us were expecting was the heavy blitz packages of the New York Jets against the Patriots.
That's true.
That threw me for a loop. I did not fathom that was going to be a thing. We averaged 23% a blitz rate over the last couple of years with Coach Saleh and Ulbrich at the head of this defense. They blitzed 43% of the time against the Patriots this past weekend. Now, our offense started off fast. Our defense is blitzing. They're doing things we've never seen before. Are you seeing a shift a little bit in the way how this coaching is taking the approach when it comes to winning football games? Because they're looking like they're willing to adjust the game plan now, not just sticking to their guns.
Yeah, so I thought that was I talked about the Jets looking more prepared than they have coming out in this New England game than I have under this regime. And a lot of that had to do with some of the curveballs and adjustments that they didn't wait until late in the quarter 3 to make. They came out and showed different looks right away. Like you said, 44% blitz rate, which is completely opposite of what the Jets expect, or the Jets have shown under Robert Saleh and Ulbrich. They also had, like I said, New England also was down a couple of offensive linemen. So, you put pressure on them. You made adjustments and corrections right from the get-go to kind of affect and put pressure on them right from the start, man. I loved it. I don't know if it's something that we're going to see a lot more. I could see us getting back into, our normal base zone, concept, quarter concepts this week, kind of filling the holes and letting and trying to force Bo Nix to beat you. I could see a lot of that, but hey, listen, and if it starts, if the dink and dunk starts to, get too much, hopefully they know that they have the skill set and the manpower and the bandwidth to go ahead and create some pressure, so on and so forth.
100%. And I think you said it perfectly, right? The fact that they started off hot, and Aaron Rodgers has spoken to this last week during one of the pressers about how the team really needs to focus on starting off hot. They want to go ahead and be able to get down the field and score on that first drive. They weren't able to do it. They got close. They weren't able to do it, right? You saw them driving down the field. A couple of penalties kind of set them back. The second drive, they were able to score. And the New York Jets right now are tied. They're amongst the top 10 teams in the NFL with 9 touchdown passes or 9 touchdowns in the league, right? Mm-hmm. That's new for us. We're in that top echelon of teams that are scoring points at a cyclic rate. That's not something that we're familiar with. Yeah. They're also leading the NFL in freaking third down conversions by a large margin. That's wonderful. Margin. It's something I think we were 31st last year or 32nd maybe even, and then now we're first in the league. I love when they asked Joe Tittman about this, like, hey, what's the difference between Aaron Rodgers? It's freaking Aaron Rodgers, right? So again, I go back to the fact that Aaron Rodgers has shown us quite a bit in the first few weeks of the season. Mm-hmm. We're seeing that he's found the fountain of youth a little bit. Now, the question is, can he keep it up? Is he going to keep getting better? I think he's going to keep getting better. I think Rodgers showed us 70%, 75% Rodgers on Thursday Night Football. I think we're going to see him go to 80% this particular week. It might be a couple more weeks before we actually see him at 100%. But right now, Aaron Rodgers at 70% is definitively playing in Pro Bowl form. I think he's playing at a Pro Bowl caliber type of form. And for the Jets to have a Pro Bowl quarterback on the roster, to me, is just insane to even say out loud. And Aaron Rodgers getting to that 100%, I mean, that's MVP caliber Rodgers, right? MVP caliber Rodgers. And the throw he made to Garrett Wilson to get the touchdown on Gonzalez, right? Like, I mean, I went back, man, and I watched that game at least 3 more times since, it ended. And I couldn't stop watching this throw over and over and over again. The confidence that it takes, and I really, truly believe only 3 quarterbacks tops can make that throw. Malik Neighbors already eating. I mean, I gotta love it. Do you think we're going to see more of that Aaron Rodgers, the throwing it into the tight window for the score, taking the chance at, at the score as we move forward? You think he's going to be more reserved still and making sure he plays safe ball, maybe a combination of aggression? Because I'm really looking forward to putting up ample amount of points to where our defense can just pin their ears back and get after quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think that's going to be important for this Jets team, for the success of this Jets team. I'd like to see what we showed what kind of defense we can play with a lead, and I think that's going to be kind of important. And now we have enough offensive firepower that we can do it. We can get ahead and we can step on throats and really apply pressure that way. So yeah, listen, Aaron Rodgers is going to take some chances. He's going to take chances that are safe in that sense. Like that throw there to Garrett Wilson for the touchdown on Christian Gonzalez. I mean, you're right. It's a throw that not every quarterback can make, but it was to the perfect spot, where only Garrett can catch it. That's the level of skill you're dealing with when you have Aaron Rodgers at the helm. He can make those throws and make them look easy.
That's facts. We got Ant Jet with the super chat. Appreciate you, Ant Jet's 82. He says, thank you guys. Nah, man, thank you. We appreciate you guys jumping in on the Thursday, thick of it, watching some football with us, talking New York Jets football. Appreciate the super chat, brother. Appreciate the super chat. I think we've got our guest a little bit early, right? So we wanted to go ahead and start talking about the Broncos anyway. So, Bob, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to come up. You ready?
Ben.
Is it Ben?
Ben, yeah.
I apologize, Ben. All right, he's ready. Hey, Ben, how you doing, man? My apologies. For some reason, I thought it was Bob, so it's Ben. How you doing tonight, brother?
I'm living my best life. Were we popping tops and going shirts off for this stream, or is that after the Broncos come in and just dominate the Jets? We're just shirtless, boy.
We'll see about that.
I gotta admit, Ben, I really admire the confidence. And you know what's crazy? It's not just you, right? So, like, I watched a couple of your streams, right? I wanted to make sure I was familiar with your content, man. You put some good stuff out there, man. So, appreciate you making some time hopping on with us. Listen, I'm gonna go ahead and put his channel, of course, in the chat. But Sports Talk Denver, man, he's got a large following. Been doing this for a while now, it looks like, putting out some good content. But I will tell you this, man, like, you are one of the most optimistic Broncos fans I think I've ever interacted with in real life.
Oh, well, definitely. It hasn't been like that, man, but things have changed since we got Sean Payton. And I think he really has a lot of people believing in this team. And I think we finally saw on Sunday what this offense can be. The schedule gods and Goodell did us no favors because, like, the Jets are a terrifying team. I'll be honest. Like, your defense is ridiculous. If Aaron Rodgers can be 75% of what he was, as Dom and I chatted 2 days ago, and that's going to drop tomorrow on my channel, but it's scary. And Brees, I think, is one of the best running backs in the league. So it's going to be a tough matchup, but I think this team has what it takes. I really do.
Yeah, good. Ben, and nice seeing you again. Again, I'm going to tell you guys, Sports Talk Denver, Ben, catch him on YouTube. Lots of good content, lots of good stuff he puts out there. We want to get right into kind of your view from, ooh, that's a nice play. Sorry, I got the game on the other screen. We want to get into your view in terms of the Denver roster as a whole. Let's talk about, we'll get into specifics and matchups and offense versus defense and so on and so forth. But like, talk to us in general, like inform us, enlighten us, like the changes and the things and the players that are really stepping up and are really here to play, that make you and all the Denver brethren you have in Colorado feel confident about this team and the Sean Payton-led team.
Yeah. Well, under Nathaniel Hackett, low point in my Broncos fandom, and it just was so poorly run. We were older and older every single year, and we went from being one of the oldest teams in the league to Sean Payton has completely rebuilt this thing from the ground up. And the word that he uses to describe this team in every aspect is young and hungry. And so we've gone out and we've got a bunch of young cats who are hungry and want to do this thing. And so, starting the defensive side of the ball, we don't have like a Myles Garrett or a Crosby or a Hassan Reddick. You guys don't either have a Hassan Reddick, but we have like a platoon of outside edge rushers who are just nasty. So we drafted Jonah Ellis out of Utah, and his dad played in the league. He's got brothers in the league and has a sack in his first 2 weeks. We have on the other side, we have this guy Nick Benito he's got like a Von Miller kind of like bend, and even guys who played with Von say Nick Benito's pass rush reminds them of Von, and he's kind of a liability stopping the run. And so you kind of only have him in there on passing downs. And then Jonathan Cooper really fell to us at 7. He's another edge rusher who really would have been one of the top, a first round pick probably, but had a heart condition. And so that's good. And then we got John Franklin Meyer that we were able to get from you, and he stepped in and made production. And so the Denver Broncos defense right now is in the top 6 in every single meaningful category, and a couple of those they're number 2. And I think a lot of people think of the Broncos last year and remember the Dolphins dropping 70 points on us. And from that point onward, we let Randy Gregory go, we let Frank Clark go. We rebuilt it, and we were a top 7 defense for the back half, and we won 5 straight games going into Buffalo, beating Pat Mahomes, beating the Vikings when they were the hottest team in football, beating the Browns. And so you just see that same type of energy. And then obviously we have Pat Surtain, and you and I debated on the episode that drops tomorrow, Pat Surtain or Sauce Gardner. I think I would take Surtain, but it's an argument for sure. And so you got him. And then we have Jaquan McMillian, who is an amazing slot corner and has been fantastic. And then we've really been like, all right, who's going to line up opposite of Surtain?
The Great White Hope.
Yes, exactly. The only one in the league right now. And Riley Moss, and he's PFF's top ranked corner from last week. And, the times he was on Mike Evans held him to 1 catch, and he lined up on Lockett and played really well on him in week 1, and has all the physical tools. And Sean Payton's like, if that's how he looks in his 3rd game, he already had the physical stuff. It's going to be like he's going to learn more and more and just get that step quicker just by his brain developing. And so that's awesome. Yeah. The scary part for us defensively is certainly our inside linebacker position, and we felt pretty good about it 2 years ago. We had the Bash brothers with Josie Jewell and Alex Singleton. And Singleton, we lost Josie Jewell to the Titans, and Singleton just tore his ACL, but continued and it was on like snap number 8 of the game. Yeah, and played the rest of the game.
26, like 12 tackles or something like that.
Yep.
So no ACL,
which is wild, right? Yeah, absolutely. So that's the defensive side of the ball. And then we had Justin Simmons a couple years ago, and he was a fan favorite and everyone loved him. We let him go as a cap casualty because we're still paying Russell Wilson now.
A lot of money.
A lot of money to him. We did take the bigger chunk of that cap hit this year. It's $80 million. Like it's just wild. Yeah. Nasty stuff. So we are paying 53 of that this year. And to have like this talented roster and all that hope with 53 million going to another dude, like that's just has us definitely very hopeful.
Yeah. Two guys you didn't talk about on the defensive side before you get into the offensive side. Educate us on Zach Allen. I know he was an addition that came over. And listen, I watched the New England game, or not the New England game,
Tampa.
the Tampa Bay game. I'm sorry, bits and pieces. I didn't drill too hard, but he was one guy I was definitely interested in because when you look at the stats are good. Yeah, and I'm sure the play is equal to the stats, but tell us a lot about Zach Allen. Tell us, a little bit more about him. And another guy, and I don't know if he's healthy, but he's a guy, and he's a fan favorite. He was a favorite of mine, like I told you. I'm very much involved on the college draft side, and I remember being in Mobile and having a good 10-minute conversation with J.L. Skinner, who was
from Boise, right?
Yeah, from Boise. He's on the team. I don't know if he's playing yet. I know he had a gruesome injury last year, kind of IR'd last year. Is he back in the fold yet? Talk to us about Skinner and Allen.
Yeah. So Zach Allen played for Vance Joseph. Vance Joseph was our head coach for a while, then was part of just like the bad days in Denver. And he left and became defensive coordinator at a couple spots, including the Cardinals. And baby JJ Watt is what they called him there. And Zach Allen learned from JJ Watt. Both of them created incredible pressures on the quarterback. And he really would dress like him and mimic him and just reveres him. And so that's like what we kind of have him play in that position. And the pressure he's been able to get. The only player in the NFL who has knocked down quarterbacks more this year is Aiden Hutchinson, has 14 quarterback knockdowns, and Zach Allen has 10. And we played Justin Fields one game and he barely threw the ball. So to only be 4 quarterback pressures under Aiden Hutchinson, when really that Detroit scheme is all around Hutchinson getting those numbers, where Zach Allen just making that pressure straight up the middle. So that's something we're very, very hopeful for. And just seeing that you really do have a platoon of guys that you always have somebody fresh. We have, a NASCAR package, like I'm sure a lot of teams do, where on obvious passing downs, you get Allen in there with Benito and Baron Browning is another incredible talented edge rusher who's on a short-term IR for a foot thing, but he's good. And then JL Skinner, a lot of people were thinking was going to be the
starting strong safety, right?
Yeah, exactly. That he was going to be the Justin Simmons replacement, and he had a really good preseason. We're not exactly sure why that is. We got Brandon Jones from the Miami Dolphins who stepped in. He had the first pick on Baker. He had a fumble recovery in that game too, so he stepped up. So I don't know if it's Brandon Jones is playing so much better. I also don't know if it's like a fear of Sean Payton. Like we had Kareem Jackson was one of our safeties, and he hits like when you used to be able to hit guys in the NFL. Like he was like a Steve Atwater, Brian Dawkins. Like he hit guys hard, and had multiple suspensions for it. And JL Skinner, like that's how he plays too. So I don't know if Sean Payton's like worried about penalties and knowing like this team really needs the defense to lead us until Bo has everything figured out. So I don't know if it's that or if it's just Brandon Jones is that much better than him.
Yeah. So you talked about your defense and I know with the injury to Alexander, the middle linebacker, who's next in line? Like who's the next man up?
Well, I mean, Sean Payton plays his cards closer to the vest than any coach I've ever heard of. Like it is unbelievable to me that the entire Broncos locker room knew on Sunday night that happened. The MRI came back when they were at dinner, and no one had any clue of it until he dropped it in his press conference the first time he had to talk on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's tipped his hands. He hasn't tipped his hand whatsoever on what he's going to do. We went out and got Quan Alexander from amazing when he was healthy. Yeah, amazing when he was healthy, but I think he's coming off an Achilles injury, and no player is ever good after an Achilles injury, including Aaron Rodgers, right? So I think there could be a potential of him, but you get 3 days to prep for, I think the most talented quarterback in the history of the league, and Rodgers. That's terrifying. So there, a lot of room. We got this guy named Justin Stranad, who you could see in there. We have Cody Barton, who jury's kind of out on. He's popped around a bunch of NFL rosters, played for Seattle for a while. So that's going to be really interesting to see, because Singleton was also our green dot signal caller. And so no one really knows, do you give that to a guy who we also have been like running packages where we only have one linebacker on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can see like Vance Joseph doesn't even want the guys who are on the, who should be on the field to be on the field. So we have no clue. Are we going to try to play safety at that position? Could that be a JL Skinner where he's
big enough? I always thought he was big enough to make that transition to be that sub linebacker kind of thing. So staying on the defensive side of the ball with you, is the plan or is the expectation for Surtain to travel with Garrett Wilson? I know that he's spent some time shadowing wide receiver ones, and then he spent some time playing halves. So I guess the jury's out on how what their game plan is. The jury will see what the decision will be on what their game plan is against the Jets offense. So what's your expectation on that?
Yeah, I think before Singleton, like if you'd asked me this on Monday, I would have said, yeah, he'll travel with him. But Vance Joseph in his press conference today said, I'm not a 3-4 guy. I'm not a 4-3 guy. I'm not any scheme. I'm with whatever talent my team has. And so I think we could see a completely different setup, knowing like we got to hide a massive hole in this defense. But like you said, he followed Metcalf around in our first game, and then the game against Steelers, he followed around who's the diva
Pickens
who doesn't block. Yeah, Pickens. Yep. And then this last game, he basically played aside, but he was, in obvious passing downs, he did follow Mike Evans.
Yeah, gotcha. So, Gunny, I'm going to flip to you with what you just heard about the Denver defense. I know for me, and like we were talking about before Ben came on, not only for this game, but I just think the identity of the Jets want to be a smash mouth run the ball football team. They want to everything to develop off of what they can do on the ground game. How are you feeling? How are you setting off this offense to face a very good Denver defense?
Yeah, no, I'll say this: the Denver defense has impressed thus far this season, right? You're seeing them play within their scope of the defense. These guys aren't trying to do too much, and in doing so, everybody's working together to go ahead and in essence stop the offense. I was pleasantly surprised to see how these guys have kind of come together and be able to play defense at a much higher level. Wasn't really expecting it, to be honest with you. But again, this is why you play the games, right? You don't go off of what you saw from last year. You play the games on Sunday and see how it turns out. But honestly, man, I look at this defense and I do agree, Ben. You guys got a lot of youth, a lot of young guys. I think you guys are definitely headed in the right track. I've been on the record of saying, like, I don't know who Sean Payton is without Drew Brees. Still waiting to kind of see what that looks like, right? And I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, with Drew Brees, I thought he was a genius. Russell Wilson, that was a nightmare, but it looks like it was more Russell Wilson than potentially Sean Payton. Yeah. So right now, Bo Nix, clean slate. He gets to go ahead and show us what he's about. Bo Nix hasn't thrown. I think he's the last starting quarterback that hasn't thrown, rookie quarterback that hasn't thrown a touchdown yet. But he's also your leading rusher, right? So there's some concerns there. The running game is having a bit of a slow start. I was kind of expecting more from Javonte Williams, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I actually drafted him in one of my fantasy leagues, and he's been a no-show thus far. But I will say this, right? So Garrett Wilson versus Patrick Surtain is going to be very, very entertaining. I think that's going to be a great matchup. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, Garrett Wilson's going to smoke him because Patrick Surtain is a dog. Like, he's a dog. That should be an interesting matchup. Yeah. But again, Mike Williams, you've got Conklin who showed out this past week. You've got Braylon Allen and Breece Hall who are both catching the ball out of the backfield. Now, Breece Hall in 1.5 games versus the Broncos in your house has 245 yards.
Yeah, don't.
Is it really?
Me, dude. Oh yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that high. Like I knew he had a good game. I knew he had a good game. And he had a big run last week. I didn't realize the yards were that high. So I think it's. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Gunny. I think the key factor when the Jets offense is on the field and the Denver defense on the field is, the key point, and it's been good for us so far, is what happens with our offensive line, right? We've been a very, very good unit, top 10 unit so far, especially against, the pass, especially in the middle, which is surprising, and not that Tyron Smith or Morgan Moses before he got hurt were bad, but the middle of the, Tippmann at center and the two guards and Simpson and AVT have been dominant just really, really good against letting up pressure, not letting up pressure, so on and so forth. So I think, now you take out Moses and you put in Olu Fashanu, where I don't know if there's going to be that much of a drop off in talent, but there's a drop off in experience. I mean, you're going from a 12-year veteran to a rookie, so there's always that. So I think that the big factor is how well Olu can mesh in and keep the high level of play and consistency of our offensive line going in. He's going to see JFM on that left side. He's going to see Nick Bonito coming off the edge. Those are two completely different types of pass rushes to expect from. So I think that's going to be big. I'm going to say I think the big key for the Jets is to make sure that they continue to keep Aaron Rodgers upright, because you give Aaron Rodgers enough time, and I don't say this
beat anybody.
Yeah, and again, that's not towards you, Ben, not towards the Broncos, but you give him enough time, and he's going to figure out a way to beat you. And the Jets so far out of 3 weeks, in 3 weeks have kept him upright for the most part. And it's a week to week league. So what we did last week, you hope carries over, but there's no guarantee. You still got to put forth the work. So that, to me, I think for the Jets offense is going to be important. Is keeping Aaron Rodgers upright, kind of slowing that very aggressive and successful pass rush that Denver has.
So I watched the San Fran Jets game as a fan and didn't break it down. What did San Francisco do to you defensively? And I also went to bed at halftime, but what? So I guess what's the secret to beating you defensively?
Defensively, I'll tell you right now, they didn't really stop Rodgers from getting down the field. A lot of people look at that and look at the score and they're like, "Oh man, the defense dominated."
Yeah, they only had the ball for
18 minutes. Our defense let us down. They never got off the field. The offense ran the ball down our throats. They never got off the field. We had the ball for 18 minutes. The Jets actually averaged 1 point per minute they had the ball. But Aaron Rodgers was on the sideline, just sitting there watching the defense.
Yeah, they only ran 41 plays in a whole, and San Francisco ran almost 80.
Whoa! Like I said, I was just watching with my son and wasn't breaking it down. That's pretty wild. I think you could say that Nix and Purdy are I think Purdy's a system quarterback and puts it where it needs to be. He's not a Mahomes or a Aaron Rodgers, and so I guess that gives me a little hope. So the key to beating the Jets is we got a ball control.
Yeah, and listen, I think the key. I think that's the key. That can be a baseline key for any team to do it. But listen, San Francisco did it. It felt like we could not get off the field on third down against San Francisco to save our lives. And the script flipped against Tennessee, where the defense kind of improved and stepped up, and then it seemed like we were stuttering a little bit on offense. The gears were churning, but everything wasn't perfectly aligned. And then last week it came in and everything kind of, worked out. So you're hoping to build off of that. So yeah, I think that if I'm a Denver coach, I want to keep the Jets offense off the field. And to do that, you got to have to establish a run game. And I'm not saying Denver can't.
Can't.
I am. I'm not saying Denver can't, because any NFL team can beat any NFL team. I really, really, truly believe that. I know it's kind of a hokey saying, but these guys are professionals. So I would say that's the key for the Jets. For Denver to beat the Jets is ball control, keep the offense off, and you got to force a turnover. You got to win the turnover battle.
Yeah. Well, hopping to that side of the ball for us. Our running numbers last week looked decent, but they weren't. We got a bunch of garbage yards when the game was over, and you could tell.
Yeah, a big chunk yard by Bidet, Tyler Batty, right?
Exactly, and I think to Gumby's point on the Javonte, part of me is Javonte actually done, or he also is the only running back in the entire league who has faced a stacked box more than 50% of his carries, and he's at 64% of his carries. And so that's kind of how they've been playing it. And you got to be Breece Hall level good to make.
We know that we know that pain, man. We know that pain for the past couple of years. When Zach was young and didn't unfortunately wearing a Jet uniform prove that that the defense needed to respect them. We faced heavy boxes 71% of the times last year. 71% of the times. Yeah,
that's
crazy.
Even worse than we've had. So that's crazy. Yeah.
Listen, we know that the run game is something that still has yet to be determined in Denver. The one factor about the run game that I think is interesting is the athleticism and the running skills that Bo Nix has. And historically, the Jets struggle with mobile quarterbacks, right?
Unless it's Josh Allen.
Yeah, well, listen, Josh Allen. Levis had a couple big chunk plays on us where the pocket broke down. He was able to shoot up the middle for 20, 30 yards. Listen, I'm not saying it's going to be a key to victory. You're not going to get in there and run, like single wing wildcat with Bo Nix running around the end every time. But that's a part of his game that's real in his athleticism and his ability to run the ball. He reminds me in that retrospect. Like, I don't consider Bo Nix a running quarterback like I do Lamar, but like similar his skill, like Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones can run the ball very well, but he's not a running quarterback. That's kind of what, that's how I gauge Bo Nix, at least definitely in college. Bo Nix has a good arm, and he had a propensity. I'm not talking about Denver in the pros this year, but I'm talking about in college to check down and take the safe play at times. Yep. So I'm expecting, and watching that Tampa Bay game, you saw a lot of that. You saw Bo Nix, what I thought was a little bit of maturation from weeks 1 and 2 to week 3 in the sense that he wasn't trying to force, he wasn't trying to press, he was taking what was given to him. And listen, maybe that's how Sean Payton wanted him to, that's the game plan that they had to beat Tampa Bay, but it worked because you won handedly. Not a lot of touchdowns were scored, but a complete, by score and by, overall play, a pretty good domination of a good Tampa Bay team. So you got to give you flowers, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that was the first time we were like truly excited to play week 1 against Mike McDonald, who you had no film on coming from the Ravens. Like, that's a tough thing in Seattle. Week 2, the Steelers defense is no joke. But Bo Nix has made like noticeable steps forward every single week. And if he continues to do that, I really believe the Denver Broncos can be a playoff team. We almost were a playoff team last year with a quarterback Sean Payton could not stand. And Sean Payton could not have been, for a guy who never talks, and like, you don't find out about catastrophic injuries until 5 days after they happen. You got to take the things he does say seriously. And he was bragging about how he tricked the entire NFL to getting Bo Nix, and how they baited the Vikings to getting JJ, and they called the Raiders and said, would you be interested in trading back, so that the Raiders didn't think they were going to get Bo and try to trade up. And, he walked out of Bo's pro day and called the owner of Walmart and said, this is our dude. And then even after this last game, he just like shook his head and smiled and said, this kid is going to be special. And I think we finally started to see what he's expecting, which is checkdowns. And I think it's going to be killing teams with 4-yard passes that you don't even touch Bo, and he's going to 4-yard dink and dunk you to death. And 4 yards 3 times in a drive gets you first downs all the way down the field. For Bo not to even get sacked at all in the last game was incredibly encouraging. And we have the highest paid offensive line in the league, and they haven't looked like it these past couple of years. And I think a lot of that is Russell Wilson rolling himself into sacks, and same kind of stuff you see with Caleb Williams, where like, just get rid of the ball if it's not there. Don't like roll into a sack. And Bo hasn't done that a single time, and Russell did that almost once every drive. Feel good about our offensive line. We are without our starting right tackle, Mike McGlinchey, but we had Alex Palczewski stand up and in his place, and again, no sacks on him, so that was awesome. Smash those milk thumbs. I saw a comment earlier that said, what's a Zach Wilson look-alike? And I'm like, that's Zach Wilson's a good-looking dude, so I'll take it, man. I'll take it all day.
Yeah, I saw that too earlier, and I was like, I'm going to share that because that's a compliment. Like,
absolutely.
I'm like, Zach Wilson is a pretty dude.
Gosh, man, I got to tell my wife, I'm coming up. Coming upstairs, I look like Zach. Yeah.
So Gunny, talk to me about our defense. How are you expecting? What are your expectations? How do you think they're going to fare against this offense? Actually, before I get into that, you mentioned one thing, Ben, I wanted to ask you, and I'm not trying to troll. I'm not trying to be funny. Is Mike McGlinchey being out kind of like addition by subtraction because last year he struggled. And I don't know what he's been like this year. Last year he definitely struggled. You saw a kind of like a little fall off, and maybe that's just because he came into a different place. That San Francisco offensive line, the last year he was there was rock solid. Completely different offense. So how important to the team, to the scheme, to the line is Mike McGlinchey not being there?
Yeah, great question. We'd nicknamed him Mike McFlinchy because of he was leading the league in false start penalties, which they actually call on some teams in the AFC West, not if you're in Kansas City, but they call it on other teams. So yeah, we were thinking very similarly, but this year he has played incredible. And so I think a lot of the blame is starting to go to Russ on his bad performance last year of like clean pockets. And you're like, dude, look at the tight end who no one's anywhere near, and you hold on the ball and roll out and cause a sack. So I think he's played a lot better. TJ Watt in that game against the Steelers lined up against him rather than lining up against Garrett Bowles. And he held, I think TJ Watt had one sack that really, I think Bo could have probably got out of it if he like got the back of one of his calves and he just crumpled. And so, but I think he's played well, but I would have been a lot more concerned had I not seen how he looked last week. Now, Tampa Bay's defense was banged up and missing Vita Vea and a lot as well. So it'll be interesting. Sean Payton went out of his way to praise your front four and how like you're one of the only teams in the league. He compared you to Pittsburgh defensive talent wise. And he's like, but they don't have to bring any extra. They're one of the only teams in the league who can get pressure with 4, which scares me for a rookie quarterback,
Yeah. Well, again, that's what they want to do is they want to put 7 back there in zone and force the quarterback into a bad decision. But Gunny, how is Jets defense going to fare up against Denver offense? What do you expect to see? Where do you think the strengths are, the weaknesses, so on and so forth?
Yeah. So honestly, I look at the Jets defense versus their offense, and I love the matchup with the secondary versus their wide receivers. I think right now your leading wide receiver is Josh Reynolds, who is a career wide receiver 3. Some would even say a 4. Cortland Sutton, I'm surprised right now. He's a little bit starting off slow. He would be the guy I would have assumed right now would be your go-to guy, but he's not too far behind him, but he's second, of course, in receiving yards and receptions. But I love the matchup, man. I love the matchup of if it's going to be freaking Sauce or if it's going to be freaking Echols out there, if it's going to be DJ Reed. I love the matchup in regards to how our corners match up against your wide receivers. I'll say this. And maybe, again, the addition by subtracting thing, I'm probably going to get a lot of flack from Jets fans for saying this out loud. Ever since CJ Mosley has come out, our running defense has significantly improved. To me, it has looked like our linebackers are moving. They're faster. They're faster. They're able to go ahead and stop the run. They're getting into the backfield. I feel really good about freaking Sherwood and Quincy being able to contain Bo Nix, right? I think this is a situation where you want to go ahead and create avenues where he can't run on you. I am worried about Bo Nix's legs. That is a concern for me. We've seen the Jets get beaten up and gashed a little bit by mobile quarterbacks. And from what you saw him do the last couple of weeks in regards to using his legs, I think he's got like 102 rushing yards already on the season. Like the kid, I mean, I know you wouldn't call him a running quarterback, but I've seen a running quarterback for me down over the last couple of games. So that worries me, but I do love the matchup of Quincy and Sherwood being able to go ahead and spy him, right, and keep an eye on him, keeping him hopefully in the box because, like you just said, we're one of the few teams in the league that can go ahead and get to the quarterback with 4. And right now we have the second-ranked leader in sacks in the NFL, and Will McDonald. A lot of people, were talking about Hassan Reddick, about freaking Jermaine Johnson. Will McDonald has been a freak of nature. He's come out of nowhere right now. He's only behind Aiden Hutchinson in regards to sacks. He's second also in the league in regards to creating pressure. He's been a monster. And we still got this dude named Quinnen Williams, who's, in my opinion, defensive tackle 1 in the NFL. If we can keep Bo Nix in the pocket, because he's been getting rid of the ball quickly too. Like, that's another thing. He's been getting the ball out of his hands fast. Yeah. Keep him in the pocket. Don't let him freaking run on us. I feel confident that our corners can hold up and our guys up front can get to him. Yeah. That's going to be the key for me. Bo Nix's legs scare me, and the ability for him to just get the ball out of his hands real quick and causing fits for the defense. Those dink and dunk plays, we saw freaking the 49ers do that against us, and it was quite annoying.
Yeah, we saw Dallas do it last year too. When Dak Prescott That was the second game of the year. So everyone was post Aaron's injury hangover. Zach coming back, and Dak Prescott, I think, went 26 for 30 for like 100 and something yards, just like 2 yards, 3 yards, 2 yards,
something average. It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
but it was death by 1,000 paper cuts, and I'm worried Bo Nix could get us like that. So love the speed we now have at linebacker, and I love CJ Mosley. I really do. I do believe he's the heart and soul, the captain of the defense. Yeah. But in terms of what we've seen the last 2 games, our rushing defense has been better, and our ability to get sideline to sideline has greatly improved. We haven't been gashed by anybody running at us. So I want them shadowing Bo. I want to keep him in the pocket and let our guys get home, right? Will McDonald, Quinnen Williams, use the rotation, whether it's going to be Tack McKinley, Taylor, I don't care who it is. You got to get the freaking Bo Nix. Because, again, those 3-4 yard passes, they do add up. You get 3 of those in a drive, first freaking down, and you do it again. So I think that's going to be the key to us winning on the defensive side of the ball. And I'll be honest with you, on offense, listen, I know everybody's like, we've got Aaron Rodgers. Breece Hall has proven to us against this defense he's unstoppable. Until they stop him, feed Breece. I say feed Breece, feed Brendan Allen whenever you need to give him a break. But, 245 yards in a game and a half, because don't forget, he tore his ACL I think it was the second quarter of that game.
Yep.
So, listen, to me, Breece is the key to winning it on offense. I know a lot of people are saying Aaron Rodgers, air it out. I just want to win these games. This is an AFC opponent. I'm not messing around. I don't want to play these games and make the game go longer than necessary. Put the ball in Breece Hall's hands. And again, our defense needs to contain Bo, force him to have to make a decision in the pocket. And hopefully our guys up front can get home.
Is Mosley out for this game for sure, or no?
He hasn't been declared out yet, but he hasn't practiced. He hasn't practiced Wednesday or today. Most likely he's going to be out. He's dealing with turf toe. So it's one of those things that's going to linger. So my guess is we probably won't see him until we come back from London.
That's what I think too.
Yeah, we'll probably see him back week 6. But listen, touching on our defense against our offense, I know it's not going to happen because it's just not in Jeff Ulbrich defense coordinator scheme. But if it's me, I'm having Sauce shadow Courtland Sutton because of the size difference. Like both of them are big bodies, both of them are physical guys. And again, not said with shade or nothing like that, but I'll take my chances with the rest of the wide receiver room in Denver beating us as long as you take out that one piece. The speed that they have, Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, I can see them busting, getting vertical on us, pressing, stretching the defense a little bit and getting behind it. That's not, out of the realm. Their speed is real. But I don't think I'm speaking out of context or speaking out of line, Ben, and saying that they still have to prove it.
And we're waiting for it, dude. It's Mims makes the Pro Bowl as a returner. He had a game against the Commanders where I think it was his 3rd game, and he had 110 yards on like 3 throws. And you're like, yes, we have our dude, and we just haven't seen him used again. So I don't know if it's kind of like Xavier Worthy in that first game where teams
went off,
didn't know what they had yet. Yeah, exactly. And you don't see it once they can scheme against you. One thing y'all should watch is we got this cat Devon Vele, and he matches up like his Raz score, and Dom can probably talk way more about Raz than I can, is exact match to Marcus Colston, 7th round draft pick, just like Marcus Colston. Ooh. And Sean Payton talks about him like he's Marcus Colston. He was Bo's leading catcher week 1. And then he broke his ribs. He is coming back and playing on Sunday, and he's like a 26-year-old rookie out of Utah, but he's every bit as big as Courtland Sutton, and had the catch of training camp that like was very Odell Beckham-ish, and everyone in Broncos country like has retweeted it a million times. So I think he had eight catches in that game against Seattle, and is great, finding that spot in the zone and sitting down, very smart. So watch out for him. But yeah, I think we're all shocked that we had this guy named Tim Patrick who was incredible, and he had a couple of bad injuries, and we cut him right before the season started. He gets picked up and is playing in Detroit. So Sean does trust the players that he has. If you're going to let a guy go who then signs somewhere else and is playing already,
Yeah. So I think the one advantage that Denver definitely has over us, I'm comfortable to say it, is at at the head coach. I mean, I think that Sean Payton is, he's a guy. He's been around. He's an established, a well-renowned coach. I think he's going to be able to get the most out of a young Denver team, both on the offensive and the defensive side. So, I think the Jets have to come in, laser focused, prepared like they did for the Denver. I mean, for the Pats game, and they've had 10 days to do it. That could be a blessing or a curse, though. In fairness, like sometimes you come off a big win and things get a little bit lackadaisical. I'm hoping that it was the opposite, and I'm hoping everything was laser focused because again, it's a week by week league. Yes, the Jets should have beat the Patriots, and they did handedly, but man, they looked good in every facet, offense, defense, special teams, everything came out on fire. So I was really happy to see that, and that's what I'm hoping to continue. Come Sunday, 1
Do you go
o'clock.
to London
Eastern.
next week already?
We do.
Why didn't the NFL give you London this week on 10 days like that? I guess hopefully y'all are thinking of.
I have
because they hate us, man. Because they hate us too.
Yeah, dude, like that seems ridiculous. I'd be furious.
We go to London and then come back and face the Bills at home.
Oh, that doesn't even seem fair. So
yeah,
I guess
from what I understand, it was from what I understand, it was the Jets' choice to not have this Week 6 bye. They wanted it later in the year. So
yeah,
I digress. So listen, we got a good game. We got an NFL game ready to be played on Sunday. Gunny, I'm going to start with you. What's your prediction, man?
Yeah, I'm dropping my more thorough video tomorrow, right, for this prediction game. But in all actuality, man, I do feel pretty good about having the more experienced quarterback, the elite quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. I like the avenue our running game has been taking in comparison to theirs. Because the first thing I did whenever I saw this matchup coming up, I looked at the rushing attack, and I was just like, oh wow, shocking that they're not playing, in my opinion, up to par to what I was expecting it to be. And again, I do love the matchups in terms of our defense versus their secondary. Now, again, is Garrett Wilson going to get eliminated from this game? Very possible. I think Patrick Surtain, like I said before, is a dog. Like he's him. I can see him being eliminated. But the great thing that we discovered this past week is that Aaron Rodgers can get the ball to 8 other individuals, and he can go ahead and get first downs and can get into the end zone. So I really believe the benefit of them coming into our house, our defense plays with their hair on fire whenever they're home. If they stick with running the ball, I feel really confident that the New York Jets win this game by a score. I think we do win this game by a score. I don't think it's going to be as high of a scoring game as people think it is. I think Sean Payton he won't say it out loud, but I think the lashback he got from the attack he did on Nathaniel Hackett last year, then losing to the Jets.
It's real.
Sean Payton. It's real. Like it bugs him that he lost that game last year after talking the way he did. So I think he's going to have a game plan to really, really attack this defense offensively. And he's going to make sure that his defensive coordinator is bringing his A game to attack us offensively as well. So I think that this is going to be more of a fun game than we realize. But I think if we put it in the hands of Breece Hall and Brandon Allen, I love our odds. I don't want to go ahead and play a game. Let's just go ahead and pretty much get out of there healthy. That's going to be huge, too. Get out of there freaking healthy, but use the rushing attack to go ahead and really take advantage of the time of possession and this defense, where I think that might be their weakness, is going to be attacking them via the run. But, yeah, I got to just win this one 21-14.
Okay. Ben, I'll kick it to you, man.
Well, I got the answer key, and he's way off. Yeah. So I think I'm like a very vibesy dude, and I just can't tell you, we have not had this type of locker room since since Manning, and we're just locked in together. Like even right now, they didn't come home after the Tampa game. They went to West Virginia, and they're paintballing, and they're at this sweet like nuclear bunker type place, and they're just chilling, and no wives, no kids, like just locked in on football, and you can just see the confidence like kind of brimming from them. And I think they feel hot and feel like the game's in front of them and they can do it. We got no favors having 10 days rest for y'all and going to MetLife. It's going to be a crazy environment. But I really think the Denver Broncos are going to win 24-21. And the boldest prediction of this, because this is who Sean Payton is that I think our last 3 downs, you're going to see Zach Wilson in victory formation. kneeling it down just to kind of stick a dagger right in it right there. We're going to put him in for those last 3 downs.
Yeah, we talked about that one the other day. Like, if it gets to that point, a lot of Jets fans won't see it because they'll already been left Jet Life Stadium. They're already be on their way home on the Parkway and whatnot.
But you know what, Ben? I agree with you. If it turns out like you say, I do believe that Sean Payton would be that dude.
Oh,
that
yeah.
sends out
Well,
Zach
he hasn't dressed yet. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah,
But
right?
I just
Yeah.
think Sean Payton is that petty, bro. I think Ben is right. I think
Oh,
Sean
he
Payton
yes,
is that petty.
1,000% is.
That
Yes.
he would dress Zach Wilson just for that aspect. If we're ahead and we got the ball,
Oh,
go ahead,
touchdown, CeeDee
Touchdown.
Lamb.
Ooh.
boom.
CeeDee
That's
Lamb
gonna be good on my
touchdown.
fantasy football.
Sorry, I didn't
What do you
mean to
think,
interrupt you,
Dom?
Gunny.
What's your prediction?
Listen, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be two teams that are going to be ready to play. I'm just more confident in. Listen, I'm running off of. You talked about being vibesy. I'm running off of last week's preparation and hoping that laser focus is here this week. I think the Jets come out and get a lead, and they put the pressure on Bo Nix, and they kind of force the Broncos out of their game plan and their scheme, and maybe force Bo Nix into having to take more chances and take more shots. I think they cause a couple turnovers, whether it's early or late. I think the Jets win the turnover battle, and I think they keep the Broncos out of the end zone. My prediction is 24-12.
Well, we'll see. You guys are like not what I expected from Jets fans. You're both very kind, and this was super fun, dude. You're very professional and loved it. We got to do post game or something like that. Only
Yeah,
if
man,
Broncos win because I'm super bitter.
Well, listen, Ben, tell everyone where they can catch you and where they can find your stuff. And then, absolutely, dude, this was great. You and I will definitely link up again in the future, so on and so forth. But tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, man. Well, check me out on Sports Talk Denver, but not to troll me if everything I said was wrong. And don't look at the thumbnail that is Nathaniel Hackett standing in front of a dumpster fire, because I don't think y'all would like that video.
No, I think a lot of the Jets fans would agree with that, to be honest with you. So it is what it is. But
Cool.
Ben, Sports Talk Denver, guys, check him out on YouTube. Appreciate the time, dude. Thanks for hanging with us tonight, man.
Yeah. Bo leave, y'all. Bo leave. Thanks. Catch you
Good
Sunday.
luck Sunday. All right,
Night,
man. Later. Ben from Sports Talk Denver. Hey, listen. No, I don't think what he said was too crazy, outside of the fact that listen, he's confident in his team, and there's nothing wrong with that.
He's a fanatic. The whole purpose of being a fanatic is you got to believe in your team with incredible zeal, right? Like, you blindly believe in your team until they prove you otherwise. They had a win last week against, like you said, a really good Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. I was surprised by it. They killed my freaking my parlay when they freaking beat them. I wasn't expecting that. But again, like I still need to see more, right? And I think the key component is they do have some really nice young pieces. They really do. They really have some nice young pieces. But I think those young pieces are for the future, not for the now, right? And that's where I think the matchup's going to come into our favor.
I could see this game, like I said, I meant that when I said it. I could see it coming down. The important piece for us is our offensive line and how we able to hold off or stop their pass rush, which has been effective. It's been effective through 3 weeks. So I think if we can continue to stay locked down as a unit, Olu can come in and not have a big dip off from Morgan Moses. I think if we can keep Aaron Rodgers upright, we got a big chance, dude. We got a big chance to dominate this game on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, like I said, I want to force. I expect the Jets to go anti-Patriots. I don't expect to see a lot of unique creeper pressures and trying to confuse you and all that stuff. I think you're going to drop the guys back. You're going to drop 7-8 back, and you're going to say, okay, Bo Nix, beat us.
100%. And Paula says it perfectly. We do have young pieces as well, and we do. I think what we're referring to is the fact that like we have that perfect combination of youth and veteran pieces for a team that's ready to go ahead and make a push. I think that the Broncos just have the young pieces across the board. Very, very young team, and they've got some players. They really do got some players. I'm not going to pretend like they don't. I just right now I think Bo Nix hasn't thrown a touchdown yet, right? Like I think we're beating them 3-1 in terms of the touchdown ratio for offense.
Mm-hmm.
We've got them beat in almost every metric offensively. They've got us beat in some defensive metrics in terms of like yards per game. They've got more turnovers as well. They've caused more turnovers. Well, we got Aaron freaking Rodgers, man. And again, this is a team that we have beaten in back-to-back years in their house with Zach Wilson and the worst offensive line in football.
Yeah.
Now we've got Aaron Rodgers in our house with one of the best offensive lines in football. Like you gotta look at those levels of improvement, and it's just I just don't see a situation unless like Modine says, right, the Jets show up because they're old and they're laggy or whatnot, right, and then they're falling asleep at Jet Life that we don't get this dub. But I do think it's going to be a fun game because I do think the defense is being slept on. I saw somebody, I think it was Modine, that said like they have like the 22nd or 24th ranked defense, and I get that, right? But a lot of that stems from like the first game where they didn't really look that good. The last couple of games you've seen the improvement, like us. The first game we didn't look so good, but the last couple of games you've seen the improvement. You've seen those guys gel. I think losing their linebacker with the ACL, I think that's going to come back. They got to adjust to that too. I don't know, man. And he says he's a vibes guy. The vibes tell me, man, that this Jets team is firing on all cylinders. Like these guys are gelling very well. They've literally are on the same page with Aaron freaking Rodgers. Like if you're talking about vibes, like the team literally is on the same page as Aaron Rodgers to the point where the defense understands like, hey, we promised him once he gets us a two score lead, we're going to go ahead and do our job and get to the quarterback. And they've executed in the last couple of games. So I expect this to be, in my opinion, more of a ground and pound game. I really do. I think we're going to see a lot of Breece Hall and a lot of Braylon Allen, the double Bs. And I think if you've got either of those guys in fantasy from their strength is, I believe, is their passing defense. I think it's a lot stronger than their rushing defense. If you've got Breece Hall or Braylon Allen on fantasy, play them. I'm playing them both. I have them differently. I'm playing them both. And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I don't think you can miss. I don't think you can miss with those guys this week.
I was going to say, I think you make a really fair point. Is the strength of their defense is, kind of similar to ours. Like when they can pin their ears back and get at the quarterback. They've done it successfully so far, but the run defense has a lot to be desired. There's a lot of meat left on the bone, a lot to be desired. I'm looking and I know it's PFF, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. But Zach Allen's 30.1 PFF grade, John Franklin Myers 34.9, DJ Jones, their nose tackle 42.2, Cody Barton, that linebacker who's now going to be stepping in for Alex Singleton 46.2. That's the way that you're going to really get at this team is get them tired, grind it out, pound it down their throats and grind this game out and, let Aaron Rodgers take his shots when he needs to.
Yeah, and I got to ask you a question, Tom. How do you feel about Sean Payton? Because I remember when he first got the job over there, right? I was like, man, Broncos might be onto something. I hated the way he attacked Hackett, and I get it. You know what I'm saying? Hackett wasn't a great head coach. Some people are not made to be head coaches. Some are just made to be coordinators. That's a fact, right? We're starting to see a lot of people turn on McDaniel right now as a head coach for the Miami Dolphins, and he has 2 back-to-back seasons getting to the playoffs. So at any given time, you can get turned on as a head coach. But in terms of Sean Payton, and I did the research, man, before Drew Brees, after Drew Brees, he's like another Bill Belichick before Tom Brady, after Tom Brady, right? Like you have to ask the question like, was it the coach or was it the player? And I know it's a combination of both. But how do you feel about Sean Payton in terms of, and again, now we're talking about resumes. Clearly this Sunday, the advantage goes Broncos in terms of head coaching. I'm not going to argue that at all.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about him in terms of the once elite coach that we were all seeing in New Orleans?
Well, I mean, I don't think is that elite coach that was in New Orleans here in Denver yet. I think that's yet to be determined. Because he's been given a task of really strip something. Like they're stripping something down and trying to build it back up. I think time will tell with that. If that's the case, if that was almost a really, really nice play by the safety. The time will tell if he gets back to that point. What I think is good, like Sean Payton will know how to scheme up an offense to, find and nitpick at, little weaknesses. Like you said, everyone, kind of, jumped off the page at the stats of Bo Nix last week. But when you watch the game, there wasn't really much. There wasn't really much tangible behind there. He put in a game plan that Bo Nix didn't have to think or make mistakes. Yeah. Right? Just everything was 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, dump off. Truth be told, that was a lot of his college tape too. He's got arm strength. He's got a good arm. But he'll take some shots. Like they schemed up a couple free, free releases to their wideouts and those fade shots down the sideline, those back shoulder sideline throws. So he can make those throws too. I don't think you're going to see a lot of those against Jets. I think you're going to see a very typical game in where the Jets bend and don't break, and they, and they get to the red zone and they shut it down, and you see a field goal, and you see a lot of bend and don't break, a lot of dink and dunk, bend and don't break. You get to the red zone, the Jets shut it down, there's a field goal, which is why I didn't predict a touchdown for Denver this week. So I want to see more of Sean Payton. I think he's a really good offensive. I think he's a brilliant offensive mind. And I don't think it's fair. And if I'm being honest, I don't think it's fair to judge him yet with this kind of rebuild that he's going through with Denver. Let's check it back in 2 years and see if they've made some headway.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. And I think, the whole concept of Bo Nix from last week makes a lot of sense too, because you look at the first 2 games he played. I think it was 2 interceptions in both games, right? When he was asked to actually throw the ball. And in my opinion, play big boy quarterback. Sean Payton looked at the tape, decided, you know what, I'm going to protect you from yourself. And he made the game easier for him. And that's his job as a head coach, right? You got a young QB. You need to start putting some wins on the board. Don't necessarily put the game in his hands, right? Trust your defense. Get those dinks and dunks every 3 to 4 yards. Do that 3 times in a freaking drive. You got a first down. So you saw a lot of that last week. But I look at the matchups, man, and I really like what I see on tape. See on tape, what I see on paper. The matchups I think favor the Jets. I think it's in a 7-point favor. I think it is. I think 7.5, which is I think the highest so far of the season. And listen, Vegas doesn't do these things to lose money, right? They don't do these things to lose money. True. So, and again, it's not a shot at the Broncos, but we're just in very different stages in terms of like where both organizations are at right now. The Jets
I'm sorry, go ahead.
They just have put in the effort right now to go ahead and be a playoff / Super Bowl contending team. They're in the rebuild. Like that's just where they're at right now in terms of both organizations.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I think there's more talent overall on the Denver roster than the New England roster, right? New England might have a better player here or there, whether or not you want to say
pound for pound.
Yeah, but overall, I think it's a better roster. That's a nice play by Singletary to get the first on 4th and inches. I think it's a better overall roster.
Oh, wow.
I think it's a roster that's still, this is a game, one of those games where the Jets should come in and win this game. This is one of those games that you come in and expect to win, right? And the only thing that could kind of derail that is if you get, like I said, I'm my big key is making sure that offensive line stays together and gels, right? And if we get a lead and we're gonna, and they're not going to be willy-nilly just run, and they know we're running or they know we're throwing, and they're not bringing the house with all these pass rushers from all these exotic formation and blitzes that everyone's gonna, that the defense coordinator is going to bring. I think that, that's advantageous to us. The holes in the middle of their defensive line, the holes at linebacker, just kind of give us that advantage with our running game. I think, like you said, I think it's going to be, run early, run often, grind out, keep their offense off the field, and force Bo Nix into making bad decisions. I think that's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 2-interception game from Bo Nix.
Yeah, my bad. Go ahead.
That's it. That's all I was going to say. Like, this is one of those games where I expect to win, and I think if the Jets are as good of a team as we think they are, this is a game you have to win.
And another way that they've been creating pressure, right? He did speak a lot about how his defensive line has been a top unit in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, although on the stat sheet that's the case, it's not because they're sending 4. It's because they've been blitzing. Right now, I believe they're first in the league in blitz packages to go ahead and get to the quarterback. But this is Aaron Rodgers we're talking about. This isn't Baker Mayfield. Who else did they play? They played Baker Mayfield. They played Geno Smith. I'm having a brain fart. Oh, and Justin Fields.
Yeah. Right?
Like, this isn't – you're playing Aaron Rodgers. Like, those guys tend to buckle and make mistakes under pressure. Aaron Rodgers, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is 5th all-time in terms of beating the blitz. Like, I think he's like the 5th-ranked quarterback in beating the blitz. So, you're going to have to adjust your defensive game plan. And if you can't get home with 4 and you send the blitz, Aaron Rodgers is going to dice you up that way. Yeah. And if you try to go ahead and get back into coverage and give Aaron Rodgers time, he's going to dice you up that way. Like, I don't think they have the dogs up front to go ahead and really beat our offensive line, who's been playing extremely well. And I think they're only going to keep getting better week in and week out. And we just lost Morgan Moses. And I know people are like, man, that sucks we lost. But he's been the worst rated member of our offensive line so far this season. Yeah. He's been the worst rated offense, and
I don't know about that. I could be wrong.
I promise.
But I know the player with surprisingly who has let up the most pressures has been
Tyron Smith.
Yeah,
but in terms of
overall
pressures, play, and I think sacks too, because Tyron hasn't given up a sack yet. It's been pressures. Morgan's given up, I think, 2 sacks of our 7 that we've given up this year. But yeah, he's been the lowest graded player on our offense. Still good. That doesn't mean he's bad. Like, he's still great as a good right tackle. I think he's like at the number 11 or 12th tackle in the league. Still good. But he's been the worst rated one. So Olu coming in there, man, playing right tackle, I don't know what to expect. He looked good against the Patriots. He looked pretty good against the Patriots. I'm hoping we see that again. I just think the matchups are just not in their favor, man. And again, talking about how young they are, this is a young team going up against a determined and focused Aaron Rodgers right now.
Yeah, I'm going to say this too. Like, you give Patrick Surtain his flowers. He's good. I don't know about the Great White Hope, man. I think they're going to pepper Riley Moss with a lot of targets over there.
I think so too.
I don't care what he rated in PFF last week. He said he was the 2nd-rated defensive back. Like, he's gonna get a lot of action over there. Guys are, he's a guy who has that, similar to Adams, can play corner and safety. So he's physical, and he's he's good in run support and can tackle. But if I'm Hackett and I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to test him with Mike Williams. 100%. You got a big size advantage. I'm going to test him. I'm going to test him a whole bunch. I think you're going to see a touchdown or 2 scored on the Great White Hope, Riley Moss.
Yeah. Listen, I just, again, like you said, any given Sunday, right? Any given Sunday, something can happen. But I just, this isn't one of those games I had come the beginning of the season when I was doing my predictions, and I thought to myself, man, you know what? The Broncos are going to get us at home after we've improved our offensive line, improved our quarterback. We've added another running back that can go ahead and do damage. This is when they finally beat us, when we've improved almost tenfold, and we've had their number for the last two games in their house. So, and again, every given Sunday, but I just think the matchup is going to be too much, man. I don't see a scenario. Honestly, I don't see a situation where I look at them and think they got us beat. I don't think they got us beat in the defensive line. I don't think they got us beat in the offensive line. I'll give you the whole Sauce and Surtain back and forth. I'm okay to have that conversation with you. I think Surtain is definitely 1 or 2 when it comes to cornerbacks in this league. But the cornerback room, you're not touching us. You're not touching the Jets cornerback room in comparison. We've got the better linebackers. We've got the quarterback, the running back. Like, where do we look at the matchups and say, like, man, they definitively got the advantage here? And
Head
again,
coach.
Head coaching. Okay, head coaching, right? My bad. I apologize. We did agree on that. Head coaching, they have the advantage. He said vibes, right? He said a lot of vibes. I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about my team after a win going to a retreat just to play paintball and to ride horses and stuff when, this is football. It's a warrior sport, not a vibe sport. And we're relaxing and getting comfortable while the other team is already at home, have the advantage, and they're getting ready to go ahead and play you with 10 days of opportunity to do so. I don't know if I look at that and think that's an advantage. But again, to each their own. In my opinion, you're right. I think head coach is the only clear advantage that they do have. Yeah. Everywhere else, it's Jets.
They're gonna make some plays. You're gonna have a play or two. Yeah. The Jets are. They're gonna win some reps and so on and so forth. But I think the sum of all the parts, I think the Jets are.
This is when I know it's over for any opponent we're playing. When Modine is saying stuff like this positive stuff like this, Jets can only lose this game. Broncos can't win it. And I couldn't agree with him more. Yeah. The only way the Jets lose this game is if they don't show up to play this game on Sunday. Like they mail it in. And I don't see that happening with Aaron Rodgers being the general of that freaking team. But that's the way we lose this game. If the Jets lose this game on Sunday, and again, this is a professional football team, right? A professional football team. They're getting paid to do the same thing our guys are getting paid, win games. But in terms of the matchups, Modine, I don't think you could say it any better. Jets can lose this game. Broncos can't win it. And I think that clearly states, like, if Jets show up, Jets get the dub.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, man. I agree. It's the turnover battle is going to be big. We got to see some picks from Sauce Gardner at some point, right?
Yes.
At some point, he's going to have to pick up. He's going to have to intercept the pass, right?
I mean, he is starting off slow this year. I'll give Ben that as well.
Not only this year. I mean, he hasn't. He the ball skills for 2 years haven't been there, and I'm saying,
in general, yeah.
If that's the worst part of his game, I'll take it. But man, Ashton Davis and Brandon Echols come on the field and they play like 8 defensive snaps in the year, get 2 picks. Sauce Gardner can't get one, for Christ's sakes. Give me one. Listen, I want to see some turnovers from the Jets defense. I want to see them control. Do some. Run the clock down, controlled, grind it out offense. Continue our trend from last week where we had the possession of the ball 2/3 of the time. And I don't think, I don't think, Denver really has any chance. Barring some crazy stuff, some, crazy 40-yard pass like the one that, caught Calvin Ridley between 2 defenders as he's rolling. He catches it, rolls in the end zone. Barring any of that, I just don't see where Bo Nix is beating this defense.
So Drum's asking an interesting question. I saw this one pop up and I was like, the Jets are going to lose a few games. Yeah, I don't think we're going undefeated. Obviously, we've already lost one. We're not going to go undefeated from here on out. I don't think that's going to work. That's how it's going to work. Jets are going to lose a few games. Would you rather have those losses come to bad teams but beating the best teams, or losing to the best teams but beating everyone else? The thing is this, the way you've worded it, the Jets are favored in 11 more of their games.
Are they?
Yes. Like right now, as it currently stands, they're favored. I mean, again, before the season pans out, but they're expected favorites in 11 more of their games, which means we would be 13-4 if that's the case.
So who are we not favored against right now?
I think the Bills,
the Buffalo
Bills,
and Miami. Miami, I'm assuming.
And no, honestly, the Miami one, they have a splitting Miami.
Okay.
Hold on. Where's the record? There. Schedule. Oh, 49ers was the other one. So 49ers was one of those teams we weren't favored against. So Jets,
Buffalo.
I'm sorry, 49ers, Buffalo. Oddly enough, for both games.
Yeah.
And
that doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't. That Buffalo's favored over us. I mean,
yeah. I and seeing them play the last couple of games, and I know people will say it's been against nobodies, and I get that, guys. I get it. The competition hasn't been there, but people need to stop looking at sometimes at the opponent and look at how they're beating these individuals. It's not like these games were close. It's not like these games were like they were in the ballpark. The Buffalo Bills were committing like felonies in beating these guys and on live television. We all got to witness this.
Yeah.
And to me, man, you're seeing Josh Allen do it differently. This isn't the Josh Allen where right now I think he has zero turnovers right now. I think he has like no turnovers.
I don't think he's thrown an interception. I know that for a fact.
Okay. So no turnovers were in week 3. He had 4 touchdowns this past week. I think he has like a total of 8 touchdowns on the season. Like, that's worrisome. Again, this is still a professional team, whether they're scrubs or not, that he's playing against. And I don't think he has the best supporting cast in terms of wide receiver. I know Cook's a dog when it comes to the running back room. Dalton Kincaid, where he's still trying to, come out of his own. But like, it's Josh Allen and friends. In all actuality, it's not like it's Josh Allen and Diggs or Josh Allen. No, it's Josh Allen and friends. And he's
he's doing and not to veer too far off into the Bills game because that's week 6.
Yeah.
But Josh Allen is doing exactly what you and I on this stream have praised Aaron Rodgers doing last week.
100%.
And that's taking what's given to him, spreading the wealth, getting everyone involved.
Yep.
Getting everyone involved.
You can't, praise Aaron Rodgers and look at Josh Allen and say, oh, it's been against bums. Let's be honest. Are the Patriots going to be a playoff team? I would say no.
Yeah.
Are the Titans going to be a playoff team? I would also say no. So like, you can't say one and say the other one. I personally think Josh Allen, the AFC East now goes to the Buffalo Bills. It has anyway. They've won it the last 4 years. And I think I greatly underestimated Josh Allen's ability to take his game to another level. I thought when they lost Diggs, when they lost freaking Davis, when they lost the defensive components, they lost a lot of key pieces that have contributed to that team's success. I was just like, man, Josh Allen without Stephon Diggs is a bum. Like, it's over for him. Window is closed. He somehow, some way, man, he's brought his game to a whole other level. Their OC, Joe Brady.
Yes,
Joe Brady.
Sir.
I know we all loved him when he was available for an OC years back. We didn't wind up going with him and whatnot, but
he went from LSU to Carolina. Fired in Carolina.
Yep.
And then to Buffalo. As a QB coach, and then when they fired Van Pelt, they promoted him.
And as an OC, is he undefeated? Has Buffalo lost a game since he took over as OC?
Well, he was there at the end of the year, so I off the top of my head, I don't know what the Buffalo record was at the end of the year. He was midseason. He was there from midseason on.
Because they went on that ridiculous run to eventually catch the Miami Dolphins and again win the AFC East.
They lost in the playoffs. They lost in the playoffs.
That's true. You know what? Yeah, they lost in the playoffs. Yeah. I don't know. I just know this. I think the New York Jets have the better roster, the better talent, but it goes back again. I think they have the number 1 QB in the AFC East until Rodgers proves otherwise. I think right now.
Until this year. And then the AFC East will come right through East Rutherford, New Jersey, motherfuckers.
Yes. And I like where your head is at. I mean, right now, I love our chances against any team. I don't look at a single team right now in the NFL. I'm like, man, we got to play them. Not a single one. I like our chances against any team. As long as Aaron Rodgers is back there as the quarterback, this offensive line keeps playing at a top 5, top 10 level. Mm-hmm. This defense can only keep getting better. The defense has jumped. The total defense for the Jets, just so y'all know, has jumped up from the 26th ranked defense to the 18th ranked defense, and now they're the 12th ranked defense in the NFL. I expect them to take another jump into that top 10 category where they freaking belong after this freaking weekend.
And so listen, man, the way the season breaks out, I mean, I know it's not a 16-week season anymore, but I've always looked at it in segments, right? You want to get through the first quarter of the season. I looked at these first 4 games. I said, you got to be 3-1. You got to come out of here 3-1, right? Yep. Okay. You come out of here 3-1, which I think we have a very good chance to do so. You can look at the second quadrant, which is difficult, and say, all right, I want to be 2-2, right? Mm-hmm. If you come out of there 3-1, 2-2, you're 5-3 mid-season. I think you're off to a good, off to a really, really good start.
100%.
that's the avenue for me to get to 11 wins. And I think 11 wins is 12 wins is really putting us in that upper echelon of the AFC and giving us a fighting chance.
12 wins gives us the AFC East, I believe. 13 wins puts us in that like number 1 seed in the AFC. I don't know the way the Chiefs are playing right now. I don't know what's going on with them. I don't. They're not playing like we expect them to. It's early, right? They just won the Super Bowl. Maybe they're still 3-0, even though they're not playing at their level. So maybe they pick it up and we start seeing the real Patrick Mahomes. Because I'll be the first to admit, looking at the Chiefs play the last few games, they don't look scary at all to me. The Bengals, I don't know what the heck happened to them. The Ravens are struggling. Their offensive line is non-existent. Their secondary is beyond trash. Like the Ravens, to me, I think is the biggest shocker. Steelers have a great defense, but their offense is dink and dunk. Like they really can't move the ball, you know what I'm saying, like down the field. Like the AFC, if you look around there, man, it's really the Buffalo Bills, the Chiefs, because it's the Chiefs. And then I would say the Jets have kind of looked the best in the AFC. I don't.
I mean, there's a lot. Listen, Pittsburgh, I think, looks pretty good. That team is always going to be. That team is always going to be the best.
Of the ball, though.
That team's always going to be the best coach team that
100%. Mike Tomlin is a genius. I love Mike.
Yeah.
Tomlin.
So I'm going to give. I'm going to say Pittsburgh. I mean, they're 3-0. Forget about one side of the ball. They're winning games, right? And that's what it's about. It's about stacking dubs, however you get it. So, I think that, you could say that the Jets and the Pittsburgh are right up there with, and maybe on the next tier below the Chiefs and Buffalo. I mean, we have as good of a chance as anyone in this AFC to make noise. And we just got to keep coming in prepared, stacking dubs and doing it week by week, man. We can't, you can't get lackadaisical, right? I don't want to come into a game as unprepared as we looked in San Francisco. We can't have that from this point going forward, right? Got that one out off your belt. Whatever it was, bad scheme, bad execution of the scheme, so on and so forth. That's over. It's done with. Now we're clean and we're going from there. Give me 1 second, Gunny. Sorry.
Sure thing. Do your thing. Don't sleep on Pittsburgh. No, and I agree. I don't think sleeping on Pittsburgh is the wise move. I'm actually going to be at that game. So anybody going to the Jets Pittsburgh game, I'm gonna be there. I know Dano's gonna be there. Murph's gonna be there as well. A couple of individuals I'm forgetting right now off the top of my head, but that's gonna be an awesome game. I'm gonna be there repping the Jets, doing our thing. But I do look at that team and I realize like they haven't figured it out yet on offense. Right, Justin Fields has been very efficient, but he hasn't really been explosive. The running game is right now still trying to go ahead and find its footing. But again, it's a well-coached team, and I think Mike Tomlin is a dog. He's a dog in this league. He's one of those freaking coaches where you look at first ballot Hall of Fame guy, and he's one of those guys where I look at and I'm thinking to myself, man, you've proven to me you can win with anybody back there behind center, right? Whereas you've got the Sean Paytons and the Bill Belichick's, your quote-unquote genius Hall of Fame coaches who've never done anything outside of playing with Drew Brees or Tom Brady. You've seen a guy like Mike Tomlin who doesn't get his flowers enough, man. The dude's played with a variety of different quarterbacks back there and has won. I don't think he's never had a losing season as an NFL head coach. That to me puts him in the elite category. So no, I'm not sleeping on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm just saying on offense, again, I look at the matchup when it comes to the Jets, and I don't think they've got the pieces on offense to scare the Jets defense. I don't think they got the receivers to match up with our secondary. I don't think their offensive line can really hold off our defensive line for an entire. I just feel like those matchups are in our favor. But then again, their defense is no joke. Their defense is no joke. So that's going to even kill things a little bit. The biggest difference maker, I think, is a guy like Aaron Rodgers.
Well, and again, I keep taking it back to the offensive line, but I don't know how long Olu's expected to start at right tackle.
2 to 3 games.
Yeah, but just say, the next 4-week stretch, he's got JFM and Nick Benito here, which I think, advantageous, compared to some of these other matchups. Then you got Jonathan Grenard. Then you got Greg Rousseau and Von Miller. And then you got TJ Watt, man. So, if he's in the game for 4 weeks, that's going to be a
Gauntlet.
It's going to be a gauntlet for
That's what you
for
call a
Facu.
gauntlet.
Yeah.
And listen, Aaron Rodgers is gonna go ahead and make sure he calls some protection to help out the young kid. I don't think you let that kid go up against these freaking all pros and not send some help his way. But nah, okay, then the Chargers. So the Chargers to me, I think, are interesting because the Harbaugh effect, right? You're seeing the defense with the same exact personnel play at a significantly better level. Like they didn't really do anything on defense, but they went from the 30th ranked defense from last year. They're a top 10 unit right now in the NFL. Again, it's early, but it's night and day in terms of how they're playing ball. Like that's coaching. That's the Harbaugh effect.
Yeah.
I know right now Justin Herbert though was banged up. Like he's
high ankle sprain. Yep.
And those linger. Those will linger all freaking year, right? Which is going to limit his mobility. Quentin Johnson.
Quentin Johnson, yeah.
Quentin Johnson, the wide receiver, who they were saying was a bust the last couple of years, has had some really good play thus far this season. So, again, coaching matters at the NFL level, and some teams prove it to you day in and day out. You're seeing this now with the Chargers unit that really lost wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, lost their running back 1, and we're talking about them being something to worry about because of the coach they brought in. So again, I think the injury to Justin Herbert is going to limit them a little bit, but you're right. I wouldn't sleep on the Chargers. The Chiefs are, of course, the Chiefs. Pittsburgh's offense sucks. But okay, let's just talk about the AFC East, right? Quickest way to go ahead and get to the playoffs is to win your division. We've already talked about the Buffalo Bills. I don't think the Patriots are somebody we've got to worry about. I think the Patriots right now are literally in full rebuild mode. Yeah. They may be 2-3 years away before we even start mentioning them again. But the Miami Dolphins are a team that is stacked with talent, but right now injuries are already freaking becoming an issue. There's already some issues in regards to the coaching, you know what I'm saying, trying to go ahead and garner as much production from that talent. They seem very undisciplined the last couple of games they played. They're I think third right now in the league in accepted penalties in the NFL. Mm-hmm. But the Miami Dolphins came in as the favorites to win the AFC East, in case nobody else knew this. At the beginning of the year, they were the favorites to win the AFC East. It shifted a little bit after the preseason to Bills, then Jets. Like we went from third to second, then second to first, and it's been back and forth between Bills and Jets. But there was a moment or a part of the offseason where the Miami Dolphins were the favorite to win the AFC East. And this team went from first in points and in yards last year. Right now, they're the only team that's not had a single offensive lead in a game. When they beat the Jaguars, it did it so with a field goal with no time on the clock. So they haven't had a single possession where they've actually been in the lead of a game.
That's a crazy stat.
It's ridiculous. I saw that and I said, there's no way. Went back and watched the first game. Sure enough, on 0, they kicked the field goal to win that game. So they didn't have a lead the entire game. Yeah. And then you're looking at they've only scored 33 points.
Well, listen, that team's going to go as far as Tua will take them, right? Because I mean, I think I can speak for most Jets fans is Tim Boyle ain't scaring no one. And you ain't going to scheme an offense around Tim Boyle that's going to threaten you, right? Their offensive line has been a question mark. Armstead can't stay healthy on the left side. You know, the middle of that offensive line is just trash. So I'm not, without Tua there for sure. Like, I don't know if they're as threatening as they are with Tua there for sure. I don't think they're in that same echelon of, that next tier of guys, the Steelers and the Jets and Baltimore and so on and so forth. I don't think that they're in there. The team, I know we're getting outside the AFC East, but the team that has surprised me so far is actually 2 of them. Is Cleveland has come out and has not looked very good. I thought that they were going to be a team in the AFC that was going to cause trouble. And obviously Jacksonville. Jacksonville looks like they're in shambles right now.
Yeah. Jacksonville shocked me. I really thought they were going to go ahead and go toe-to-toe with Houston in the AFC South. I thought that was going to be a two-headed monster to have to worry about. But, man, they have looked unprepared. They have looked like they don't care about playing football. I think they're actually first in the league right now in terms of, accepted penalties. Like, they're fighting on the sidelines in the Buffalo Bills game. That game was over by mid-second quarter. That game was done by mid-second quarter on prime time. Listen, the Jaguars are a mess. The Trevor Lawrence experiment, I think we can all I think this is a perfect example of why we should be very careful in utilizing the term generational. Generational means once in a generation, people. Using it to identify every freaking good, great, or even elite potential prospect that comes out of freaking college as generational. You got guys like Caleb Williams looking the way he's looking. You got Trevor Lawrence, who obviously the greatest generational talent since Andrew Luck. I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know if we've seen a generational talent in the NFL since Andrew Luck. I think Andrew Luck was that dude where he hit across, in my opinion, in every metric. He came in, took a bum team to the playoffs. The dude can run the ball. He can beat you with his arm. He can beat you with his mind. He was built like a freaking brick house. Like, he was a generational. He wasn't great. He wasn't elite. He was generational. Took that bum team to the playoffs, and to this day, we don't know how he did it, but he did it. He did it. So that's generational. And I think people have created a whole other category for great, maybe elite talents that you're excited about, and you're just like, man, this kid is generational. You're Trevor Lawrence right now, I think, should be the example of why we stop throwing that word around so nonchalantly, because I think he's maybe an average quarterback in the NFL. And I don't know if we can fix him. This is his third head coach.
Yeah, and listen, I'm gonna say this because I think we fall on the separate sides of the Trevor discussion. I don't think anything that's happened in Jacksonville has given him, has done Trevor Lawrence any favors. He could be one of those guys who, needs a little bit of stability before, before I think he's very talented. And he's shown glimpses of it, hasn't been able to put it together, but a lot of it's been, the trash coaching, trash offensive line, so on and so forth. So, and probably the same thing's happening in Cleveland. I don't think not on the coaching aspect. I think Stefanski's actually a really good coach. But that offensive line has been so bad. I mean, that guy is, he's seeing ghosts every time it comes, man. He's sacked 7-8 times a game. Doesn't help him, build the confidence that he needs to be built back. I think Cleveland, for me, has been the biggest disappointment in the AFC so far.
But explain to me this then. How come with Joe Flacco coming home from the couch, the offense looks significantly more efficient and progressive with the same roster, same players around him? But then you got Deshaun Watson coming out there, and he just seems lost to me. And yeah, you're right. It's hard to play football when you've got a 310, 320-pound defensive lineman in your face. Mm-hmm. But is he not calling the protections? Is he not reading the defense to get the ball out? Because, again, Joe Flacco looked pretty good last year.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what, Gunny? I don't know, man. I guess, and maybe this is just fan speak, but I remember Deshaun Watson in the Houston Texan days, and he was dominant. There was games that he did everything himself, right? Yeah. So maybe that player has just left us. 2 years really suspended for a season, then got injured for another season. So maybe that ball still hasn't come back. So maybe he is part of the problem. I know that the Cleveland offense hasn't done him any favors. It seems to me like they keep bringing in wide receiver after wide receiver after wide receiver, and ain't none of them helping, man. And I think until they get the offensive line right and figure it out, you can bring in 4 Amari Coopers and 3 Elijah Moores and 2 Jerry Judys, and it don't matter, man. It won't matter.
Yeah,
you can't get the ball to a wide receiver flat on your back. You can't get the ball. You can't get the ball to a wide receiver with less than two seconds to move in the in the pocket. So I don't know.
Nah, I mean, you make very valid points, man. It's just one of those things where the roster is very talented. It was considered one of the top rosters in the NFL, and you're seeing how they're playing right now. Joe Burrow was supposed to be, baby Patrick Mahomes, right? Like, he's supposed to be one of the top 3 guys in the league, and he's played well himself over the last couple of games. That first game was more of a dud, but they're 0-3 right now. Like, teams that are that should be leading their divisions or tied for the lead are in the basement in their divisions, and I don't know what to make of the AFC right now. It just seems like it's been turned on its head. And do you think it's going to go ahead and start, correcting itself as the season progresses, or do you think there's a new regime now, and what is these individual organizations?
No, listen, like I said, I think it's a week by week thing. I think there's still a lot of teams that are still cutting their teeth. It's early in the season, still trying to put it together. Our Jets included. We talked about it numerous times today. We haven't seen the best of the Jets yet, right? Last week was close in all facets, but I still don't think we've seen the best of what this team can do or can offer. So, I think that some teams are going to work it out. Like, listen, man, you got guys like Jacksonville and Cincinnati who were thought to be contenders in the AFC for playoff spots. I don't know what the statistics are off the top of my head, but coming back from 0-3 and making the playoffs is going to be a tough sledding for him. So, I guess the season's long. We got a lot of game in front of us, and we got some important games. Starting with this Denver one, we got to come out of this. We got to have another statement victory here, which I think we can have, and then we start our little mini gauntlet, right? Of Minnesota in London, which is just a tough game to play, traveling all that distance to come home to Baltimore, to come home to face Buffalo, then to go into Pittsburgh, before we hopefully get another little reprieve with, traveling to New England. But, traveling to New England's never easy either. So
that's true. Yeah, I just think when it comes to those division games, I never want to go ahead and count any team out. You're talking about organizations that have known the tendencies of the players, the coaches. Mayo, unfortunately for him, is the baby or the puppy in the division right now in terms of coaching. Mm-hmm. The Belichick tree hasn't been the most successful coaching tree on the planet. He's had several duds, a lot of more failures than winners. So Mayo right now has to kind of figure out his identity. But even still, man, going to Gillette Stadium, I'm not going to sit there and breathe until we win the game, until we go in there and we win the game. I'm not gonna do the same thing against the Buffalo Bills or the Dolphins until we win the game. Right now, the Buffalo Bills definitely are the ones that scare me. The Miami Dolphins, man, I don't know if Tua comes back and he's fine, right? Post concussion year before last, Tua didn't look like Tua. Like he looked like he was still uncertain, like the game was too fast for him. I don't know if there was lingering symptoms of those concussions that he endured. So I don't know what to expect from Tua. He didn't look good before the concussion either. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, for the last 7 games the Miami Dolphins have played, they are averaging 15.7 points per game or something like that. It's not the high flying offense that, that excited us a year ago or a year and a half ago, the first half of last season. People have figured it out, and it looks like teams have adjusted to defending it. You're seeing even bad teams like the freaking Jaguars adjust to defending it when they played against them earlier this year. So you start to look at that and you're wondering, like, have defensive coordinators caught up with the Miami Dolphins, like high scoring offense? And I think the answer of the last 7 games the Dolphins have played with Tua at the helm is a resounding yes. They figured it out. Good teams, bad teams have slowed those guys down.
Get him off his first read, and it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Get him off his first read, man. Figure out a way to confuse him, to put somebody there. Be in the spot where he wants to throw, because he is a spot thrower, man, and it's a wrap, But you get the ball in those playmakers' hands, and then it's a coin flip. You know what I mean? They got speed, man. You put the ball in you put the ball in speed's hands in space, and
and that's why I don't want to ever sleep on those guys, because they still got I think the best or the second best wide receiver tandem in the NFL. Some would argue the Chicago Bears, but again, DJ Moore and Roma Dunze are still trying to go ahead and get going. So they might have the number 1 wide receiver room right now in the NFL.
I would say so. I would say so for sure.
That's how I feel about it. And Tua can get the ball out of his hands fast and into their hands, and that's a problem. So again, I hope we sweep them. I hope we sweep the Dolphins. I hope we sweep the Bills. I hope we sweep the Patriots. I want us to go 6-0 in the AFC East. I don't think that's going to happen, but man, am I going to try to wish it or manifest it into existence?
Yeah.
I think ultimately we'll wind up splitting with the Buffalo Bills because again, I think we play them well. We played Josh Allen well. And we did that when we didn't have the quarterback or we didn't have the offensive line and we didn't have the dual running back. So I feel like that's going to be a matchup where we go ahead and take one. They might take whoever's at home wins that game. And the Dolphins, man, and I had us splitting with them too, but I don't know now. I don't know if I see a split with the Dolphins.
I want to see Tim Boyle, man. I listen. I don't wish to a ill will. You know,
No,
that's
of
you
course
know,
not.
the
Of course
guy's
not.
injured and stuff like that. Like, but man, it would be cool as hell with me if he just decided to sit out the rest of the year, get his mind right, and we face a Tim Boyle led Miami Dolphins team.
Because I remember last
boy.
year they distinctly told us that, you know, bad quarterback play doesn't impact, you know, our defense. And we've seen bad quarterback play impact their defense the last 2 games. So
Yeah.
personally, I would love to go ahead and see that over a full sample size. We provided a full sample size of bad quarterback play, how it impacted our defense, and our defense still finished out as a top 5 unit. So
Amen,
I would like to see how it works for the Dolphins and see if they still feel that rhetoric still holds true.
Yeah.
I would love that, man. I would love that for them if we get to go ahead and face off against Tim Boyle twice this year.
Your mouth to God's ears.
What a gift. What a gift that would be.
We're getting towards the end of the stream here, Gunny.
Sir.
Before we do so, why don't you tell everyone about the sponsor again?
Yes, so Bet US, thank you again for sponsoring the Thursday Thick of It. Right now, there are some awesome odds for our guy, Aaron Rodgers, to win MVP, comeback player of the year, the Jets to go ahead and win the AFC East, the odds for the Jets to make it to the Super Bowl. We're talking about odds in our favor because I think this roster, this team, Aaron Rodgers, are going to surprise and shock a lot of people. So jump on Bet US and go ahead and pretty much put in your bets because, again, I feel like you're going to start seeing some returns on that investment. So, again, thank you to Bet US for sponsoring the show. Great show, man. I mean, I know we didn't have GreenBean here, so we did our best to hold it down.
Yeah, without Grandpa, man. Sometimes the stream gets a little light, but thanks to all the people in the chat that hung out here and talked. Listen, we got some insight from Denver. You know, before we leave, Gunny. Last words on Sunday. Like, you know, give me a guy on offense and a guy on defense that you expect to shine out, man.
Yeah, in all actuality, I think this might be the game where we finally see Sauce Gardner start to reestablish himself in the 2024 season as being that top dog as a cornerback. I think we've seen him kind of start off a little bit slow. So on defense, I do have him getting a turnover. Bo Nix, the first couple of games, man, 2 interceptions in both games, 2 and 2. The dink and dunk stuff last week was feasible for them to do because they didn't have to really push the ball much because they were able to contain the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. But I don't believe that's going to be the case here. I think the New York Jets offense is going to get points on the board early. And I do want to say Breece Hall, that dude, is going to be the offensive playmaker for this game. I think he's going to go ahead and have 100+ yards this weekend. Maybe 2 tutties, 1 reception, one running. But I think that the offense is going to get up early, and the Broncos are gonna have to actually play football. We're gonna have to ask Bo Nix to play adult quarterback and throw the ball, and I think we're gonna see Sauce Gardner take advantage of that. I think he's gonna go ahead and get us a interception. Hopefully he turns that to a pick 6. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he's feeling froggy, but I got Sauce Gardner as being my defensive playmaker of the day for us, and then I've got Breece Hall as our offensive playmaker of the day for Sunday's game against the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to say that I expect the running backs to do very well this game as well. But just to switch it up, I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna go ahead on a limb, and I'm gonna say we're gonna see a breakout 2-touchdown game from one Mike Williams.
Ooh.
Yeah, and on defense, I'm gonna say, you know, we're gonna get probably about 13, 14 sacks. I'm just kidding.
I was like,
listen, I think we get a lead. I think we step on the throat, and I think we do end up with a lot of pressures and a lot of sacks. But I'm expecting to keep the momentum and see our linebackers come off and play very well. So I'm gonna say Mike Williams and Quincy Williams are my two guys that are going to step up and really have the games as we curb stomp Denver on Saturday at Jet Life. Guys, don't forget, it is the Talking Jets meetup game. We're all going to be there. Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7, Matt O'Leary, Green Bean, myself, Jets Chaos, Jeremy, amongst many others are going to be there. It's going to be a good time. Tailgate Joe. And then we get on the field and do all that stuff. Let's get out of this game with a win. Let's fucking go. New York Jets football on Sunday. Keep the momentum going. Stack dubs as we head into London. So, listen, this was a great stream, Gunny. I had a good time with you, my friend. It's been a while. I don't think we've got together and collabed and co-hosted like this. We should do this more often, my brother.
You're right, man.
Who needs that Green Bean dude? Where the fuck is that guy anyway?
I think he said he was driving or something. You know him, man. He was probably just bullshitting. He didn't want to go ahead and get on today. He's napping somewhere right now before the big weekend. Hey, you know what? It's okay though. He needs his rest. You know what I'm saying? We want him nice and fresh for Sunday's game, rooting for the Jets. So we understand Green Bean having to do what he's got to do.
Yeah. We missed him. But I had a good time here with you, Gunny. And definitely with you guys in the chat, guys. If you haven't done so yet, go ahead and hit those milk thumbs, follow, subscribe, do all that stuff, so that the YouTube algorithm kicks this up the ladder and gets it out more to the masses. The more, the more interaction we have with you guys on the video on YouTube, the better it is for us. And yeah, man, let's do this. Let's get out there on Sunday and get a W. Let's hope Green Beans travels up from Virginia up into the Garden State are going well, and I'm sure you'll see him soon. And I hope to see all of you wearing your jerseys, wearing your gear at MetLife on Sunday. Gunny, I wish you can come up, man. I know he couldn't make it happen, but we're gonna get a dub for you, man. JETS. What do you think?
Y'all. Nah, 100%, man. I appreciate you guys. I really wanted to be at this one, man. I really did. But life is life. You know what I'm saying? When you've got some growing daughters that need all new wardrobe, sometimes you got to empty the fun account for the sake of the family. So it's what it is. Don't forget to, again, like and subscribe. Again, like Don was just saying, it's going to help the algorithm, right? You guys love the content. We appreciate you guys. 193 of you. We were at 210 at some point throughout the stream. Like and subscribe to the channel. The algorithm does its thing, and it gets to other Jets fans who weren't quite tracking, man. This is great stuff. Don't forget to also go check out Sports Talk Denver. Ben was kind enough to go ahead and chop it up with us. And I will say this, we've reached out to a few content creators. He was the only one willing to go ahead and go toe-to-toe with some Jets fans and talk about this game. So we appreciate him for coming out. But yeah, man, that's that. Is there any new content you got coming out, Dom, you want to tell the people about?
No, man. You can catch me on Mondays with Ryan on the Talking Jets Network, Mondays at 8:00. Usually a recap show of our game Sunday. Hopefully we have good things to talk about this Monday. My stuff, Gunny, my stuff is yet to come. I'm still on the grind doing my draft stuff, but later on in the year that stuff will, and my channel will be very live and rolling out deep again. So,
well, listen, Dom, as always, man, like you're always a G. I'm going to be inviting you to actually a new show I'm going to be kicking off here. I got the Hangar Hangout on Tuesday nights. You already know about that one. Come hang out at the Hangar this Tuesday night. We've got Wesley Walker coming on the show. He's a special guest for Tuesday night. That's right. I saw the jersey. Wesley Walker is coming on the show. He's going to go ahead and talk Jets with us, kind of give us his opinion on what he thinks about the team now. Hopefully we're talking about a win. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. We're going to be talking about the win after the Broncos game. So come check us out at the Hangar Hangout Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. We're also going to be doing a pretty awesome giveaway after the show. So like after he's done doing his thing with us, we're going to do a live giveaway right there on the show. You want to be there. I give out some pretty awesome autograph memorabilia. So hopefully you got some time to go ahead and jump on the New York Jets situation report. And then, yeah, check out the Hangar Hangout. But also, new show coming up, me and Mike the Stat Guy. We did a show last night. It was the Hangar Hangout. I had to do it a different date because I was at the College Station recruiting event for work. but we chopped up and broke down the tape for the New York Jets against the Patriots game, and y'all loved it. A lot of people jumped on the show asking questions, and I was kind of surprised because it was off script because it wasn't on my regular night. So because of that, Mike, the stat guy, and I have teamed up. We're going to be doing Run the Tape with Gunny and Mike, Jets film breakdown on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Central. And I plan on bringing guys like Dom C and Frankie as well to kind of jump on there and run the tape with us if they've got the opportunity and time to, because I know they're busy individuals. But if we can get some of these goats out there, you'll have me and Mike to go ahead and run the tape with you guys on Wednesday nights on the New York Jets Situation Report. So that's that, man. That's
awesome, man. Thank you guys in the chat for participating. Thanks for being here and supporting myself and Gunny and GreenBean and all the content creators. Again, the best support you can do is make sure on your way out you hit the thumbs up and like the video. Leave a comment. Let us know what you liked and let us know what you didn't. And the stuff that we want to respond to, we will. The rest of it we'll ignore, so don't worry about it. I'm kidding. Until next time, guys, let's go Jets, man.
Go Jets.